About the customer experience in digital business models, at first we need to catch the concept of garage in digitalized environments as a digital business model. And we need to understand the ecosystem in order to create optimal parking experience for customers' perspective. First, we need to consider those of customer preference in real world. For example, we need to consider the gap between the neighboring cars in parking lot and how easy to access to the entry and exits and how much it is and what kind of special services during the parking duration I can use. That kind of real customer and the customer preference should be considered, and through the IoT, high technology communication system or infrastructure, we can collect that kind of preference data, and it can be transferred to virtual world, and we can mix all of them with high technology like data models or recognition logic or something like that. And then by combining all of the customer preference and with high technology, we can produce optimal parking experience.
So I would like to use this digital parking garage system to explain the 4P concept. The 4P concept is basically derived from the 4 P's of marketing, which are product, promotion, price, and point of sale. And in our IP world, these are the unique selling proposition, the unique communication proposition, the IP, so the enforceable exclusivity, and the price. Again, it is important that the IP generation ideally starts at the customer side. So the ideal conditions are when a legally protected unique selling proposition is met with the customer's willingness to pay premium price. And the competitive differentiation requires the IP to be aligned with the customer proposition and the customer communication. So again, it starts from here. And what is our product? Our USP is our customized choice of parking bays that provides new business opportunities for parking garage operators and that allow optimal skimming of end customers' willingness to pay, and that supports the end customer's personal preferences. Now we have to promote this to the customer. So we create a recognizable, striking parking environment by ways of colors, shapes, lighting, etc. And by emphasizing the individuality, the flexibility, and the ease of use at all customers' touch points, let it be the app where he books his parking space or the actual parking ticket machine. What do we protect? We protect, of course, then we know what we need to protect when we know these customer values. So we need patents for the target aimed protection of the technical system components, and of course we need trademarks and designs on core communication elements. And then you don't need to think about the last point, because this is a direct consequence if done right in the first place.
So I'll be presenting the brand steering wheel, which moves from the rational points up here down to the purely emotional points down there, and we're starting with a resource perspective and assessing the resources we have for our brand. And here we make the assumption that there is no brand heritage, there is no existing brand that we're building this on. And from that perspective, it might be strange to talk about what resources do we have. We have none. But that's not entirely true, because there is a resource in not having the heritages as well, because it gives us the opportunity to establish this as a completely new brand, which is also very much in line with the project that we're doing, because it's a new parking experience. It's not the parking experience that you're used to. It's something completely new, and selling it as under a new brand and as something new is part of the strategy of the whole project. Down on the brand appearance, we must of course create this brand, and we must make sure that we have the right communication and create the right brand for ourselves. With a uniform brand experience, it should be a streamlined parking experience where you have the same feeling of the new and convenient and modern parking experience. We should make sure to have a clear and recognizable shapes and colors, and just the throughout communication of the brand, both in the design of the parking spaces and the physical space in itself. And then we shift from the resource perspective to the market perspective, and then up with the purely rational, we have the brand benefits for garage operators. We have the attractiveness of the to end users, which it will make sure that you have there will be a lot of users and you will have a high revenue. It will be highly profitable. Such a system will open for new revenue streams as well, with cooperations with other companies and stuff like that, which we will come back to. And for the end users, it provides a parking customized to personal needs, a comfortable parking experience, and it's dependent. You can rely on there being a parking space for you. It might not be the cheapest way to park, it might not be the most economical way of doing it, but it gives you a good experience of parking, and that's what we're selling. So the focus shouldn't necessarily be on price or those kinds of benefits, it's the experience of it. So those are on the rational side of it. Then you have also on the emotional side, which is quite important. It's a practical thing to park your car, but here you're selling something more as well. And on the more emotional side, it's the experience of it being flexible. It doesn't necessarily have to be entirely just based on the fact that it is flexible. It should also just give you the experience of it. It's individual. There again, it's not necessarily that it is completely individual. It's parking spaces. It's going to be square and it's going to fit a car, and that's the same for all of you. But it's the experience that they convey to you and the experience that you have, and it is to some extent as well individual, because you get the right parking spot for you at that time.
The brand promise, which we've just heard, the flexible and customizable parking system, which is easy to use and always fairly priced, secure, and which has a futuristic design. That's what we promise, and that's what we sort of want to create in the heads of the customers. How that can be protected and achieved. So first of all, achieved by, for instance, the app system, which should be homogeneous in its overall impression, the optics, acoustics, and, for instance, the smell within the parking garages, and the attached technical features, which have to be protected then by IP, by patents and designs. So by the key patents, which are realizing the technology and blocking parallel or comparable technologies, which are the data system, the mapping, the preference systems, all the technology that realizes our brand promise and achieves the proof, so that in the end the customer achieves or obtains the brand promise by our exclusively protected technologies and
we can create an ecosystem around the parking experience. This is an ecosystem consisting of additional services and products. This is because the vehicle, which is our focus, is considered part of this ecosystem, and we can make the parking experience unique by offering services which add the so-called feel-good factor. Now we give here an idea of how this ecosystem could look like. So the focus is on the parking, but around this parking we have all these services, like for example information about the traffic conditions while reaching the parking bays, or closeness to some strategic points, businesses, or offering the possibilities to pay online and no more using the automatic machines, or also, for example, for people owning an electric vehicle, the possibility to charge the battery of this vehicle. So the sum of all these services make the simple parking act a parking experience.